All right, wanted to tell you about the Beeville angel that we met. Sounds kind of weird, I know. Listen to the story. Um, so we drive a 15 passenger van when we're going anywhere because we have 6 children. It's a really big van, really loud. I can't hear the children in the back when they're trying to tell me something. So this past week we went down to Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area. It's about an 8 hour trip from where we live. We'd driven about 7 hours and made it to Beeville. And during this time, my 3-year-old had been, yelling that she wanted to stop every 5 minutes down the road, and it was upsetting me. I was a little perturbed, to say the least. And, I think 2 or 3 hours, the baby, the 1-year-old, who did not like to be strapped into her baby car seat, which I completely understand. I wouldn't want to be. She'd been screaming. And so I was not in the best of moods, I guess, or not, certainly not in a position where I thought I would meet an angel or be the recipient of some divine intervention. But so we're 7 hours into our trip, right there near Beeville, Texas. And usually I ignore people when they're, driving up next to me, because when you're in a 15 passenger van, people are, gawking. They're like, what the heck is this thing going down the road? Are they going to church camp? What's going on? So it's really weird. And, our van says sweet because that's part of the name of the church that I bought it from. But so I'm driving down the road. This guy comes along, beard and the sunglasses that are mirror reflective and you can't really see their eyes. Rolls down his window. We're doing 70, 75. He rolls down his window and he's like, hey, your back passenger tire's about to blow out. I'm like, everything felt fine. But I was like, okay. Which is strange that I could actually hear this guy when I can't hear the children in the back of the van with the windows rolled up. So, yeah, I clearly heard him say, my back rear tire's about to blow. So, I told him thanks. I pulled off. I look, and he, pulled off right behind me. I'm like, okay, he could have just told me and kept going. But, he gets out when I get out, and he points at it. He's like, right over there, look at it. It's on the inside. It wasn't on the outside. It was on the inside under the van. He's like, looks like it's getting ready to blow. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay. Because I can't tell. It looks like a normal tire to me. Looked a little underinflated, but I'm like, okay, well, I guess this guy knows what he's talking about. So he said, tell you what, let me turn on my blinkers and I will follow you off the highway. And I was like, okay, thanks a lot, man. So he did that, and we got off at the next exit, and he pulled up beside me at a stoplight, and I rolled down my window. I thanked him. I was like, thanks again for pointing this out and letting me know how to get off the highway. Oh, I forgot to mention, when he first stopped, he's like, do you have a spare? We can change it. I was like, no, I don't have a spare with me. And so, yeah, before we left, he told me, Google TO tire, so my thought was that's where I was going to go. And when he pulled up beside me at the stop sign, I was like, okay, we got it. Thanks a lot. And he's like, follow me. I'll take you into TO tire. I was like, okay. So he had me follow him all the way down the feeder road. We turned right into town, and right as I saw the TO tire sign, and right as I'm about to turn left into there, barely moving at all, the tire begins to shred. Start shaking, and basically it gets demolished right as I'm pulling into the parking lot of TO Tire, which is like, I'm like, how can you have that kind of timing? That's like really, really strange. And, I kind of stopped the guy. He came out of TO Tire because he had walked in there to tell him we were coming. And And he said, I was like, do you think they could come out here and change it? And he's like, no, you got this. Keep on coming in. They got a bay ready for you. What kind of car you got? I'm going to let them know you're coming. It's like, 2001 Chevy Express. So he ran back in there while I, slowly made my way in. I pull into TO Tire into an open bay, and it's kind of like the Indy 500. They're already rolling up a tire and, starting to jack up the car as I'm getting the children out. I walk in the shop. The guy's there. He's just leaving, and I'm like, thanks again, man. I appreciate you telling me. I appreciate you following me off the road and then guiding me here. And, I certainly did not expect that it was going to blow out, because I'd been thinking the whole time. I was like, well, I don't know what's TO Tire. Why don't I go to Walmart or, National Tire or something? But the guy was like, yeah, no problem. Just pass it on. And he's trying to leave. And I'm like, wait a minute, my wife wants to, thank you. And, I went back out to the van because I had to get my wallet. So I'm like, okay, I gotta get a new tire here, obviously, since the one we had just shredded right out in the parking lot. So she thanks the guy. And, he tells her, you're welcome, pass it on. And he leaves, and then, we turn around and, I look at the guy that's working there. And I'm like, okay, did he already tell you what kind of tire I need? Because they're wheeling something out. And he's like, yeah, they got it. It's all good. I'm like, okay, well, what's this going to run me? He's like, that guy just paid for it. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, he paid for it. And he was asking if he could buy a spare for you. And we wouldn't let him buy you a spare, but we're going to give you a spare that we have. It's just an older one that we have. It's already on a rim and everything. It fits your vehicle. Probably wouldn't drive too long with it, but it'll get you off the road if you ever have an accident. I'm like, holy smokes. And turns out this was the only tire of that size they had, because I was like, well, maybe I should get some more. And they're like, no, this is the only one. We hardly ever carry these. We just happen to have the one that fit your van the right size, 18-inch. So that was crazy. And the next town that we came to after we left, it only took them like 15 minutes, and we were on the road. They were the nicest people in the world. We get on the road. The next town we come to is called Skidmore. So if I would have kept going down the road, we would have had our blowout in a town called Skidmore. So yeah, it was really weird. And I thought about it the whole night. I woke up really early because I had to write down some thoughts about it, just about how amazing that is. Like, I mean, when you tell people you might have seen an angel, they kind of look at you like, what have you been smoking? But I mean, in retrospect, the fact that, somebody could see a weakness in a tire going 70 miles an hour down the road, lead me right to the place where it blows out right before we stop. And then, to have paid for everything, and, there only been one, and this to have all happened, right before we hit a town called Skidmore. So, I thought a lot about it that night, and it, the things that came to me were that, in our lives we can be going down, doing our life as fast as we can, relying on the things that are keeping us grounded, like tires, and everything seems fine. There's not a care in the world. You're just doing whatever you're doing. You're getting frustrated in life. You're having all these issues that pop up. Like I said, going full bore down the road of life. And sometimes God can see things that you can't see. And it's not on the outside. It's on the inside. And he can speak so clearly that even if you can't hear the stuff around you, you can hear him. Despite all the stuff of life and all the wind that's going on. Like I heard this guy, and if you stop, and you may not see the issue, it may not be apparent to you, but it can be pointed out to you. And if you trust and believe that he saw something in you that's not right, that can be fixed, that should be fixed, something that's about to lead to a really bad end, that if you trust him and let him get you off that highway and then follow him to Tio, which that's my father's brother in Spanish, uncle, follow him to Tio, that they can have the exact thing, not they, God can have the exact thing that you need, the one thing that you need to get you back into life. He can have that and more, a spare, and that by having that trust and going where he directs you, where he tells you to go, that tire, that thing you're relying on, the thing that was going to blow out and just destroy your life, change your life radically in some way, that can be changed for free. The old can be done away with. The old cracked one, you should have seen the tire. It was bad after it blew out. But that can be changed and done away with and a brand new one put on in its place. And not only that, but spare. And all of this to happen right before you get to a place called Skidmore in your life. So